Thanks for joining us. Our guest today is Kristen Rosen Gonzalez, who is running for Miami Beach City Commission. I'm Michael Millen. This is Live with Miami's Community News. It's been a while since I've seen you, and you're looking tremendous, all right, and terrific.
Thank you. He just told me he doesn't like my hair,
Yeah,
but I like it. It's natural.
But I like her, all right, a lot. All right, let's talk about the card that you're holding. Tell us about this.
I am currently running for the Miami Beach Commission. Hopefully right now we're sharing this post on the Miami Beach residents page. And one of the reasons that I called you guys this morning from Miami-Dade College where I was teaching, because Miami Community Newspapers is located in South Miami, because Stephanie online said, didn't you used to see her podcast and what she used to say to people? And I thought, wow, I really miss being here. I miss my weekly podcast.
I want you to come back.
I will. I'm actually trying to figure out a time right now. We're saying like Tuesdays.
Oh, look, we got you right there. Hey, listen, folks, share us, like us, and if you like her, and even if you don't, make a comment, all right?
Whether you love me or people say that to me all the time. People either love you or hate you. But those people who claim to hate me, I don't know if they really know me or they've just heard something about me. And I'm here to dispel, any of those rumors. I love our city.
Just keep talking. I'm going to do this over here.
I'm doing the Facebook share. Not enough people vote in our Miami Beach elections, which are on November 2nd. And I'm very excited to be running. One of the reasons I was motivated to is just the sale of public property and the disregard of residents who are advocating at the commission. And I just thought Mickey Steinberg, who is now going to be running for the county commission, she's leaving because she's term limited and her vote is too important for somebody to occupy that seat and risk somebody voting against resident rights, somebody voting to sell municipal properties like our oceanfront library, or to give away our marina, or to sell a senior center like Rebecca Towers that happens to be in some of the most expensive real estate in all of the state of Florida. So
let's talk about, for the average guy that watches the news about Miami Beach's South End, there's been a lot of violence in the last 2 years at that end.
As a matter of fact, no matter what message I send out, what people really want to hear right now is, how are you going to clean up a situation on South Beach? When was the last time you've been to South Beach, Collins Avenue, Washington, Ocean Drive?
Been a while.
It is chaos. All of our retail's closed. So as you drive up Collins Avenue from 5th to 15th Street, you just see boarded up retail shops, almost as, so the retail has closed because a lot of these stores are getting shoplifted. There's people with open containers, people not wearing shirts, walking down the street. Sometimes you just have people in the middle of the street. We have these little people on buggies riding around with music blasting. There's bicycle gangs that are knocking over people. So it's just dangerous and unsightly. And for like a European family that comes to South Beach and sees what's happening there, they're completely afraid. And by the way, as you're walking down the street, there's just marijuana wafting throughout the air. So you can probably just get high.
So when did it start to really get to a point to where the deterioration was so grand that people started being cautious? When did that sort of start?
This has been a slow burn. It's gotten worse over time. And I think that there's so much tension. We haven't really been enforcing our laws. And that really started with Philip Levine. I hate to say it, but when he became mayor, he relaxed a lot of laws. He changed our police chief. See, I was told not to antagonize or criticize anyone as I'm running for office, to not make enemies. But I've got to tell the truth, or at least what I think. She can
barely help herself, folks. Right?
Well, it's true. He relaxed a lot of our laws. He hired a police chief.
But he relaxed the laws so that what would occur?
He hired a police chief that the policemen didn't get along with. And so the police were very demoralized and unmotivated under Philip Levine. And and he actually, and we stopped enforcing our laws. All of a sudden, there was a time in Miami Beach when you were careful about what you did in South Beach, because you knew that there were going to be DUI checkpoints. You knew that if you had an open container, somebody would say something.
And that works, right?
Enforcement works. And the scary part about saying that we want law enforcement is that there's a group of people who said, we don't want to live in a police state. But our counter argument to that is, what we have in South Beach right now is ruining our brand. It is completely unsafe. The residents are miserable. I would much rather see a couple of policemen out on the street walking around than see what we have right now, which is a shooting. There was a shooting in broad daylight. A man, he held a gun to a baby's head.
That was recently.
Yes.
Now,
And
since then, the mayor hired, or the city manager hired a couple dozen, if I remember right, or
they are
30 or 40 police
finally
officers.
responding. Well, they're reassigning 40
Okay.
police officers to the MXC district. And then the county said that they were going to assign 10 extra police officers on the weekends. But we really need to begin to enforce the laws, because right now people don't want to engage. We have a big block party going on every single day on Ocean Drive. And it's hard to walk out into a crowd and ask somebody, hey, you're violating our open container law. Please put that away or we're going to have to arrest you. So
Hold
we
on
really
one
need
second. I do want to say hello to George Gonzalez. Thanks for checking in, George. We're going to get together again. But you're right. The policemen don't want to be going there like they did with the mask. It was really uncomfortable. What are you going to do? Let it go. But a month or so ago, wasn't somebody shot? Right?
We've held so many vigils. This past year, we held a protest during spring break. A girl was like drugged and raped and left to die in her room while the guys were out partying with their credit cards. We have shootings and stabbings weekly. A lot of those don't make the major headlines, but this shooting of the baby on 14th Street and Ocean Drive was so awful because they pointed a gun to the baby's head, and then the father stood up to say, please don't point that gun at my baby's head. And then not only did he shoot him in broad daylight in front of his wife and baby, but the
bad guy shot
the bad guy. Yeah, he got shot, but then the man danced on top of his body, and the man was a tourist from Norcross, Georgia. And you have to ask yourself, why did that man from Norcross, Georgia, choose Miami Beach? And that is because there is an anything goes party atmosphere. You can be on a bicycle gang, you can rent a buggy, you can drink from a bottle in the middle of the street, you can dance, you can sell booze illegally in the middle of the street, you can just smoke as much marijuana without any regard to anyone.
Bourbon Street's better.
Yeah, I would say I haven't been to New Orleans lately, but there are examples of places like Times Square that had fallen into complete chaos and were then cleaned up, but you had to have serious policies, which are zero tolerance. We're going to enforce the law policy.
So this is a perfect example of, well, try to be friendly, or maybe for business and to take care of the stores, the restaurants that are there, get more people to come down here and spend, $500 a day each. And then all of a sudden, when the grief starts happening, when the police are there, you hear about police brutality, but the reality is that it has to be safe for everyone, not just the guys with the guns.
Look, there are some of our police officers, and there are bad apples in every force, or there are guys who just lost it because they're exhausted. Some of our police officers have been working weeks on end and they don't get any breaks. Every single time that they're going on a shift, they don't know if they're going to be shot. They just don't know. All
right. So we have an election coming up when is that? 6 weeks?
So our election is November 2nd, but the ballots are going to go out in about a month. And I do think that people are going to come out. And while I've always been a political activist, and most of the stuff that I've done is surrounding like preservation or resident rights. This time, the electorate really wants us to respond on what we are going to do as elected officials to clean up the city of Miami Beach. And my response is that it's 3 streets from 5th to 15th Street, Ocean Drive, Collins Avenue, Washington Avenue. I could pretty much walk up and down the streets with my iPhone and say, hey, why is this drug dealer here? There are drug dealers that are just there every single day. And people say, well, we arrest them and they get out. But if we arrested them every single day for 2 weeks straight, I think they might think 2 times, because do you really want to go to county jail every single day?
So there's been a move by city government to try and change the zoning. Do I have that correct?
Well, it's funny, like one of the business owners along Ocean Drive, and for example, a nightclub, Twist, the most iconic gay club that we have here in South Florida. They said, where are the police? Where are the police? There's no police presence ever. Now the police will say, well, we're out there and, we don't have enough cops, but we have to just support our police.
So think about last summer. All right. Was that this summer or the summer before?
Oh, no, but Dan's response to all of this, by the way, is we have to rezone it. Just rezone it. Like, there was no law enforcement. And I think that he's being pressured. And if you want to know the truth, I do believe that right now, people are trying to squeeze those last businesses that are in that entertainment district, Ocean Drive, Collins Avenue, Washington Avenue, whatever is left open right now. They really do want them to close up, because otherwise they wouldn't have closed off the street. Right now, if you have a hotel and you want to drop off your guests, okay, you can't. So the city closed off Ocean Drive, but then made no accommodations to have people transferred. So you'll have somebody who's spending $1,000 a night staying at the Versace mansion, for example, and they'll get dropped off 2 blocks away in high heels in the rain, and there's no way for them to get to their hotel. So this is like putting in the dagger. And I would like to understand who is sponsoring.
But the blocking off is done
this.
for what was the alleged purpose?
Well, you know, any other place in the world that you pedestrianize becomes a very lovely
Yep.
place. And I will say, I love the idea of a pedestrian street. We really don't want people cruising. But if the city is going to close off the street and it's full of hotels, the street is lined with hotels, then you have to make accommodations for guest drop off. What does that mean? You could have bollards that go up and down and then let people go through and say, hey, I'm dropping off at this hotel, and let that one car through. You have to, or have some sort of golf cart, but they made no accommodations at all. So, you know, and his idea is just to redevelop. Would it be interesting to have some office space in the area? Absolutely. Do some areas need facelift? Do we need to beautify it? Yes. We have $30 million to beautify Ocean Drive. So I think we should start by, you know, let's put Ocean Drive under construction.
So
without ruining the businesses.
So maybe this is just the evolution of South Beach. There's something different.
We could be something different as long as we don't ruin the character of what made us famous in the first place, which is our postcard. You know, you can't get rid of the Arc de Triomphe or the Leaning Tower of Pisa. What would the people of Pisa do if they said, hey, that tower's leaning?
So when I think about Jerry Powers, and I forget the name of his magazine that he had for years, big iconic magazine, it was perfect. And they were doing these photo shoots there, these women from all across the world. And that drew a lot of people. Millions of people would pay attention to Miami Beach and South Beach. You'd see the pretty girls and all that stuff. And it drew everything else that comes with that. So that seems to has shifted away, right? To this.
It's definitely not glamorous. From the time that I first got involved in politics, which was 8-9 years ago, up until now, I've seen the incredible deterioration of Ocean Drive.
Now, you were on the city commission. What years were you on the Miami Beach City Commission?
So I was elected in 2015, and it surprised a lot of people. And then I did not get reelected in 2019, and I'm not giving up. I love our city too much, and I think that I represent a large group of residents who want to be able to have my vote and my voice and access to me on the commission. And I think it's important for our residents to understand that I really I passed and sponsored the residents' right to know legislation. I would fight when developers would try to take away residents' right to appeals thing. I really ended up being a resident advocate simply because I saw that there wasn't enough of that on the commission. But now we've got some really great commissioners. Stephen Miner.
Well, hold on a second. George Gonzalez says Kristen would support a SunPass toll for non-residents to increase funds to increase police presence throughout the beach. Wayne Roberts says hello. All right. And somebody says Ocean Drive needs to be redesigned. All right. So
we're working on that right now. They're waiting for a redesign. But if I tell you the people who live down there are just fed up. And as a resident of Miami Beach, even on 41st Street the other day, I went into Walgreens. The person in front of me shoplifted everything. It was a big drama. So we're like living with this now on a daily basis. And unfortunately, we don't have the resources to police this on our own. Now, if you shut down all of those businesses right now, okay, if you squeeze them out and you shut them down, then we're just going to have a bunch of boarded businesses. And by the way, everything was shut down during COVID, and we had the same problems every single day anyway.
So what about the landlords, the property owners there? What do they say?
That they need police presence. A lot of them have hired their own armed guards outside of hotels. If you go to the major oceanfront hotels along Collins Avenue, there will be armed guards because they need help. And if it were up to me, I would have sent a letter to the state, the leaders in the state of Florida, and said, we can't do this ourselves. We really need some help. And I think people want to see different types of businesses. We don't want so many tattoo parlors, packaged liquor stores, vape shops, I don't know if there's any sex stores, but you understand that kind of like.
But it's the landlords, and we own buildings, right? It's the landlords that make a decision to rent to those people. They could hold out and say, I don't want to rent it to such and such a category. I want something different. But I think the landlords want something better, whatever better means. Everybody
would like something different at this point. And it pains me to want to shut down a business like a package store that's been there for 30 years, that always sold, beer and wine to tourists. Because you come into town, you don't want to spend $50 for a bottle of wine sent to your room. You want to be able to go to a nearby place and get yourself, a $10 or $20 bottle. I understand that. But what's happening right now is that there's just drug dealers outside of this place. There's a huge block party every single night that we can't control. So we need to come
And
together.
you're on Miami Beach. You're right on Collins Avenue many nights, right? Around 50th
Who,
Street.
me?
Who?
Oh, I am. We
Are
have a business,
Oh.
Cafe Bernie.
Cafe Bernie.
It's 5600 Collins Avenue and Bernie Mats. That's why I stopped coming here in April. We opened on April 22nd, and it's a waterfront. It's a waterfront restaurant, and valet parking is free, and it's been a great success. I'm very proud of my fiance, soon to be husband. We're getting married.
Should we ask
eventually. Yeah, you know.
When? You're going to
When
hear
are
it
we
here
getting
first,
married,
folks.
Bernie? Tell me. So we've been working very hard, and the menu is delightful. Bernie's Prime Burger is our top seller. It's been a huge success. We recently got a liquor license, so now you can come and have cocktails there. Residents don't know, a lot of people don't know this, but we have a happy hour every day from 4 to 6 p.m. with a wonderful $5 menu.
Okay, forget the food. Okay, Blinn Valadero says hello. Let's talk about you also are an adjunct professor where at Miami-Dade.
I am not an adjunct professor. I'm a full-time
tenured
faculty
adjunct
member
professor.
Who I'm going up for my final promotion to full professor. You start out as an instructor, then assistant professor, associate professor, senior, which is what I am right now. And this year I will apply to be a full professor.
And full professor,
money.
what is it you share with your students?
About what?
I don't know.
Many things. So I'm a faculty member in the English and Communications department. I've been at Miami-Dade College for 12 years. I think we are the best institution. We are the job trainers. People don't realize that, you want to reinvent yourself. Well, go get a training at Miami-Dade College, become a Tesla mechanic. I mean, we have all these great tech companies that are coming here. We're training people for jobs. We need
you have
to
a couple
train
of advanced
people
degrees.
for more.
What are your advanced degrees in?
Oh, my PhD, and people have said she doesn't have a PhD. She doesn't need it. My PhD is in leadership and higher education administration and communication. So I teach communications at Barry University, and because I was having my children and I was working full time, and that fit my schedule. But I did my undergraduate degree at Tufts University in Boston, and I studied French and Spanish language and literature. So I'm actually a linguist.
Wow.
And yeah.
Okay. So you want to go back and serve the public, even afterwards you were serving the public. You were an activist, and yet you were instrumental in saving some city-owned property last year on the bay, if I remember right.
The marina, they were giving the marina away for a paltry sum of money, and the marina was located right next door to our housing authority. And I just thought this is just a bad deal for the residents. There was no public input. The terms of the contract were not very transparent. And it was very shocking to see that the city and the campaign that was, because this went to referendum, they sent out, we're going to redevelop the marina, and they forgot to put in the massive tower that they were going to build right there in the marina. So it's this kind of deception that I dislike. Right now, the commission was voting to sell our public library. We also saved the Byron Carlisle Theater that was going to be turned into a hotel.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Somebody wrote in after the show, and I guess your question to Bernie Mats was, what about it? Meaning getting married. Do you see? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, you want to get married after the show?
Is that what that means?
You want to go to City Hall, Bern? We could do that today. Give me a chance to at least get my hair done or after this campaign. But no, Bernie's been wonderful. Yesterday was our birthday. We're born on the same day. And he turned 60. I'm not saying, okay, but I'm younger, way younger.
Way younger.
Although he looks very
Can I see your card here?
This is the card. I've been standing out in front of Publix a lot, trying to meet the residents, gauge the residents. I really need people to listen to me. I hear why I'm running, how much I love the city, because I'm about to get attacked with hundreds of thousands of dollars in PAC money from these developers that I fought against. When we fought the Byron Carlisle, fighting against the sale of our public library, fighting against the sale of our marina, protecting our public assets, that creates enemies. These enemies have deep pockets, and they're going to come after me. So it's really important, if you want a sign or a t-shirt, to get people to come out to vote. Otherwise, we're going to have the same old stuff that we're fighting. We're going to have the same type of crime so that we can redevelop this area. And I'm not anti-development, but let's redevelop this responsibly. I'm afraid that if my seat gets taken by some of my opponents, that there's just going to be a constant vote for development against residents. Residents will be very unhappy.
In your piece here, you say revive what? Revive the quality of our tourism.
My three R's.
Yes. So let's.
Yeah. Okay. You want me to go through each one?
Sure.
Okay. So the first one is restore. Right? Restore public safety. Are you giving them to me like this? stopping this anything goes atmosphere. We want to send a strong message that if you're coming to Miami Beach to do no good, we're going to make it miserable for you. Right? And this sounds terrible. Welcome to Miami Beach. We're going to arrest you. But really, if you come here and you don't want to follow our rules or our laws, then we should take action.
And the police don't have to be heavy-handed. What they can do is they can enforce the law and protect the lives and the health and the well-being, and protect the businesses that are there from these outside people that are making it very tough for people to want to go to Miami Beach.
The biggest worries for residents are, okay, if we become a police state, am I going to be hassled too? Somebody said that they were pulled over the other night because we were doing these checkpoints. It was very reactionary checkpoints across the city. And a resident was given 2 tickets. And I think that our police need to have professional development that basically says, listen, we are not here to hassle the residents, because the residents aren't the ones that are out breaking laws. So if the police begin to enforce, like if you're at a rolling stop and we begin to hassle you, because our police officers they're so used to risking their lives and being treated poorly or in stressful situations. Sometimes they're not like a neighborly police officer in South Miami. I mean, our police officers are facing some crazy stuff.
So your number one thing was restore safety and security by Miami Beach.
That's the biggest thing that people want right now.
Okay. Second thing was renew the public's trust by preserving, protecting, and beautifying the city's assets.
If we are going to sell off a piece of property, I would like to make sure that we have several appraisals done. I would like to ask why we need to sell it instead of redeveloping it ourselves. I want to question every single public-private partnership that we have and make sure that the city gets a great deal on those, because we've made terrible contracts, signed terrible contracts with developers in the past. So as we move forward, let's just do what's good for everybody and not for just a few special interests.
Okay, and the final thing was, how are you going to revive the quality of the tourism? I see the quality of the tourism, all right, which implies a higher end people that want to have a good time, but work within the laws.
Well, it's sad. I would love to have a wonderful quality tourism that doesn't not with illegal guns, just doing drugs and shooting people and making people's lives miserable. What we want to have is our convention center up and running, $1 billion asset that has been now sitting there for years. We finished it and then we entered into a pandemic, and then the city couldn't get its final certificate of operation. Then they leased it to the federal government. We did not get enough money for the lease with the federal government to become the COVID testing site. So that was another bad deal. Now we need that convention center up and running a program, because that will raise our room rates, will attract a better quality of tourism. We need to beautify the city. We need to put up signage everywhere, new signs, and we need to create a completely different atmosphere than what we have. Residents are just fed up. And I don't want to just say these things. I really am going to try to have an office on Washington Avenue. I'm going to walk up and down the street and I'm going to hold our police leadership accountable. I'm going to say, why is this drug dealer here every single day being allowed to sell drugs? Why aren't we doing anything about it? Because nobody's asking these questions. I have never seen, I'm not supposed to criticize our current mayor, but the truth is that I've never seen him go down there and ask any questions. Why isn't he walking the streets? Why can't, I'm sure if we had a different mayor, they'd be down there asking questions.
I've seen him on TV, saying, the bad guys got to stop, and we're going to have more police that are there. So, now that school is back in session and we're acutely aware of the COVID surge, and it's certainly going up and down. By the way, there's a piece of glass here, folks, between us. So tell us about COVID, what it's done to businesses on the beach, the tourism, in your class that you teach, right? What has it been like?
Well, at the college, it's been very interesting. We're back in the college, but unlike K through 12, we don't have a mask mandate. So you will walk into a classroom and, 26 students will have a mask on, and then there's 2 students that are unmasked. And at the beginning, that was, and you can encourage somebody to put on a mask, but you can't mandate it. And so after my first class, one of my students emailed me and said, my father just passed away from COVID. There was a guy next to me who wasn't wearing a mask. My daughter at home has cerebral palsy. I feel very uncomfortable. So you're running into these types of situations. But what I found is when I asked those 2 students, and we speak about it empathetically. And I said, could you please put on a mask? Everybody's been wearing the mask. One student today asked everybody in the class, he said, I don't want to have a mask on during my presentation. Can I take it off? And I took a vote. I said, are you guys okay with it? And until every single student raised their hand, I let him take his mask off. Most people are vaccinated. Look, we got to move forward. Mask or not, where most of us are wearing masks, but it hasn't been easy. A lot of faculty members are older, or they're in situations where they're living with parents and they didn't want to go and expose themselves, but they didn't have a choice. So that's what we're facing, and we're doing the best we can.
What is the city of Miami Beach doing to provide emotional support, mental health care for so many people? I mean, a huge percentage of the population is suffering socially, emotionally, or mentally. Anyway, and on top of it, now we have 18 months of COVID, separation, and lots of anxiety, back to school, all right, and then creating problems that we haven't really faced with. So does the city have some programs that somebody, if they're listening or watching, could call the city and say, hey, I need some help?
Nothing effective right now, but it would be wonderful to use municipal funding to somehow have a group of therapists that were available on Zoom or the telephone if you were a Miami Beach resident. But the question is that our responsibility? Is that your insurer's responsibility?
Well, I know Miami-Dade County, I think I'm not sure if it's 211 or 311. If they can call the county, they can direct them to some people. Some of the cities offer some minor stuff, but don't do anything rash, don't do anything crazy, all right? It's going to get better out there. And we know that parents now are under more stress actually than they were 4 months ago, when we thought it was going to get better and we thought come September that it was going to go away. Well, we know that right in Miami-Dade County, the number of people that are in hospitals is declining rapidly. I've been told it's about to go back in another 2 months or so. It's going to go back up.
Our students are stressed out. They're anxious. This one kid said, I'm finishing up college now. The whole thing has been pandemic, like his first 2 years. Kind of sad.
Well,
it's ruined my son's college experience. I mean, he spent his first year at Skidmore. He did great. Then he's been home for the last year, and I think that was very hard on him. When he went up to school, he was in a hotel room by himself. You can't really go to the dining hall. They give you like two lame choices. Do you want a burger or chicken? It was terrible during COVID. So there's a whole these kids have really suffered, and they're anxious. That's what I meant to say. They were giving presentations today and they had to say these words that describe them. If I told you how many students put the word anxious, wrote it out on that poster board. And one student drew all these lines and she said, I just feel like I just have all these squiggly lines surrounding my head. So I think living in Miami-Dade County, where we don't have great public transportation, the weather is taxing, life is expensive, they're living in crowded housing, and the traffic is terrible. It is a very stressful situation, and we don't have a lot of great jobs. So we have to change that. And I'm so impressed with what Francis Suarez is doing by attracting all of these tech companies here. Now Miami-Dade College, and this is what I wrote my PhD on, is how can Miami-Dade College offer 4-year degrees to train people directly for the workforce? And that's what we really need to be doing. And anybody who is looking right now for a new career, you can go onto the Miami-Dade College website, because we train you within 2 years of doing a certificate, or sometimes even 1 year in technology or cybersecurity, becoming a mechanic for Tesla. We need to, just go back out and train people for jobs. And we've missed the whole vocational thing completely.
So one of the things we've recognized that one person can make a difference. So in the case of Mayor Suarez, he was, even though that had been worked for 10 or 15 years before, he was the one that ventured out and said, what can I do to help that happen? And then he asked a question, and people said, let's do this. The number of wealthy tech companies and people that are coming into Miami, Florida, as Hal can tell us, who's in real estate business, right over there, right? Okay. It's a huge number and it's shifting and it's changing. And Miami and Miami Beach and greater Fort Lauderdale area, this is a really happening place. We hope that Miami Beach gets cleaned up.
Well, I'm also a realtor, and I can tell you that our single family home prices have just skyrocketed. I myself speculated on a home in Little Havana, and that the price of that home has now doubled over the past 3 years. People want to come here and move here. They're paying tremendous prices for any kind of house on the water. And the question is where our family is going to go now that or we don't have the job training in place. We don't have the jobs. We don't have the public transit. And I was just in I spent some time in Europe this summer, and it was amazing to see their public transportation, their police presence on the street, how they clean the streets, how, nobody in Barcelona, where I was just at, is taking cars anymore. There's almost no parking left. And there's a space for pedestrians, protected bike lanes, there's an electric tram moving, there's a subway, it's just so organized. Motorcycle parking.
So Victor Dover and his firm, all right, he's been doing work like this for 20 years. And when he first started Live, Work, Play, people, oh no, we need big streets. And so he has been part of this movement that allows that type of thing to happen, which are, smaller streets, more walkability, right, where people, Andy and Mayberry, if you will, where it's certainly more comfortable. And I was on South Miami Avenue for about a week, going back and forth. The number of people that are walking around downtown Miami in that area, and that are on
downtown South Miami?
No, on South Miami Avenue near downtown.
Oh.
It is tremendous. The bicyclists and the joggers,
and
the baby carriages.
We need more of that. And I'm aware that there need to be zoning changes in Miami Beach so that we can have this hybrid. And I'm all for tech offices and financial firms moving to Miami Beach, and they want Class A office space, and that's fine, as long as it all works within the context of what is historic preservation.
Sometimes people think, oh, so-and-so is progressive, and some people think that's a bad thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I look at you, you're progressive, you're looking to the future. What do we need to do? Make this better for everyone, all right? And I think Miami Beach, it's a new look, whatever that's going to be, all right? It may take a while to get there, but it takes people with insight and can look to the future. And I hope that you make it into office, and that the people that you're working with, the other commissioners that are there, and the city managers and the people in town are supportive of this new thing that really needs to happen on Miami Beach, because no one wants to go over there and wondering if some guy's going to pull a gun out, all right? That used to be reserved for the worst part of town, wherever that was.
What needs to happen, and there's like a business model here, actually. Somebody needs to organize trips for elected officials around the world to take them to models that work in Asia, in Europe, in South America, because every place has concepts that they're very good at. But I would say that Western Europe and Asia is really leading the way in 21st century smart cities. And we need to go and see it. What does a real protected bike lane look like that isn't unattractive? Like, we try in Miami Beach and we kind of fail at it. So I would suggest that our mayor should take a junket out and really plan it. Let's go to Barcelona and look at this system. And the county especially, they need to go and see, what does it look like to recycle our water? What does it look like to really mitigate for sea level rise? And go out and just take the time to go and see, because then you can create the policies that matter. And right now, our policies are just dependent on which lobbyist is contributing enough to an elected official to get their item put on the agenda. And what we're missing this like big vision of what we should be.
Well, I'm glad you brought up lobbyists, because we were downtown the other day at
I don't hate all lobbyists.
All right. What?
I don't hate all lobbyists, but I wish you guys would help us create companies that, help us create the infrastructure that we need to grow into the 21st century, instead of just selling us some product.
I've got a great idea for these lobbyists. Instead of clogging up the walkway at the Miami-Dade County Commission doorways when you want to walk in the commission chambers, and they're all there, and the citizens, all right, who pay all the bills, have a hard time getting in because the lobbyists are there, like they own it. They should be sitting in some room somewhere else, right, and wait for the customers, all right, because we're customers, Miami-Dade County, and concerned citizens, until we can get in. So,
is that really what's happening?
Yeah.
Michael Miller wants to kick out the lobbyist. I did not say that. He did.
I just want him to go. We just want him to go.
No, like lobbyists are necessary, because the fact of the matter is that you can lobby for good too. I've spoken to environmentalists. Look at Rachel Silverstein from the Water Keepers, or Dave Dobler from, Clean Up Miami Beach. We have certain lobbyists that are lobbying for really good stuff. But what we need our real power lobbyists to do is work with our elected officials to create a real vision that we can execute on. And hopefully we'll get this smart plan moving.
The next 2 months are going to be great. We wish you lots of good luck. It was a pleasure to see you again. You can come back every 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And I hope you do that.
No, I'm hoping that I come every week, but I'm going to do something different and talk to people.
And my congratulations to you and Bertie Matz for your wonderful restaurant, 56th Street.
Thank you.
56 and Collins.
5600 Collins Avenue, inside of a building, free valet parking, a tremendous menu. There's something for everybody.
It's called Cafe Bernie.
Cafe Bernie.
And you can look them up, and you might even see this young lady down there.
Follow us
30
on
seconds.
Instagram. Cafe Bernie 305, or you can call me if you have any questions about my campaign. My phone number is 305-965-4725. I really do need your help because this is going to be a very dirty election cycle. We need people like you who really care and love Miami Beach and want to see it become the place that it should be. We need you to come out and vote. It's
and
really
you can find it
important.
virtually everywhere across the internet, or you can go most nights over to 5600 Collins Avenue.
I
Folks,
will
thanks
be
so
there.
much.
Thanks.
Tommy, thank you. And thank you, folks, for your time. Have a great
Thank
day.
you.